Hello and welcome to Sykehouse Fishery in sunny Doncaster. I'm joined by my glamorous assistant Dave Roberts for our 8th review, Dave. And the sun's shining.
Sun always shines on the righteous, Tom. I always tell you. And it's what a fabulous place this is. This is a new one for me. I'd never even heard of it until you said about it. But
well, it's funny you say that because up until last December, which isn't that long ago, really, is it? 4 months. I'd never heard of it. Well, I'd heard of it, but never been here either. And came for the silverfish fishing originally, but I soon became aware of a massive head of carp, which makes it the perfect place to test the products that we've got to look at today.
And we've got a good range of things for this sort of fishing, haven't we? We've got so let's start. We've got the Cadence CR10 11-foot number 3 Waggler rod.
Yeah.
We've got a Shimano rod, which is
it's the Aero, and it's the Shimano X7 feeder rod.
Quite excited by this. We've not done any Shimano stuff yet, have we?
No, we haven't. And these rods have got a great story behind them, which we'll cover later. I mean, they were developed by a very good friend of mine, Nick Speed. He's had a lot of input, so it'll be great to talk about some of the things he's told me about that. And we've also got some pellet wagglers, attachments, and hooks from Preston Innovations.
Nothing excites me more than a pellet waggler launch, Tom.
Really?
Yeah.
What, literally? Or?
Literally. Yeah, I've been seeing some press on these, and the fact we've got to test them before they'll be in the shops by the time this come out, but they're only just launched, and they look fantastic, don't they?
They do look fantastic, and I've got to tell you, there's a 5 gram I'm missing out that box because Les Marshall, who's fishing the match here today at Sykehouse, he's actually just nicked one off me. So
that's the Yorkshireman in a minute. That's it. If it's not screwed down, they'll have it.
No, we're one short. So if he wins the match, we'll have to mention that as well. But I don't think we should waste any time in getting you out and fishing because we've decided to start in true entrepreneurial style with a little bit of mugging, haven't we? We're not going to go straight into the bomb, which would be the easy option.
You can't send me a little waggler like that and expect me not to use it straight away. Look at that. That's just absolutely a little. That's a proper.
You off if I did anything different on a day,
Right. Okay. So we've seen that there's a few fish moving around. We fancy we're going to catch them, don't we? So should I have a go?
Go on,
can I have first go?
You can have first go. So there we've got the 11-foot Cadence, and it's the number 3, that one, Dave.
Yeah. So we're going to talk in more depth as
about
we go.
All these things,
yeah, but let's get.
It's the 11-foot number 3. It's matched with the reel line that we've been sent from Preston Innovations, which again we'll talk a little bit more about later. But this is designed specifically for float fishing. We've got one of the Preston wagglers on, the Preston hooks. Can't say we've got a Preston reel. It's one of my Daiwa TDRs, but TDM.
Can't fail, can we? So we're not going to feed anything. We're just going to go straight out. I've seen some fish knocking around. The wind's just got up a little bit.
The wind's just picked up at the wrong time, but that's what we want, you know.
See, there's some moving out there. Right, let's give it a quick flick.
Come on then. I've heard it's a specialism of yours. Oh, look how that landed.
Look at that. Do you see how that landed? And we're going to get a bite straight away. That was in that area.
There was one there, wasn't there? Definitely.
Let's give it a little twitch. Oh,
it's good actually. It's a good test today because that wind is a bit awkward, and that's when you need the right floats for the job, the right rod for the job, the right line for the job, isn't it? To really achieve that little plot that you just got, I must say, beautifully there.
They, I mean, first thing, I did have a couple of casts when we first put them on the line, and they fly so straight, these wagglers. You know, you can see there's a lot of thought gone into the, you know, into the design of them, and we've just got it on the line using line stops. And
well, that's a new product in itself as well, which we've
we'll sort of cover. But they're everything seems well thought out.
As you cast, one thing that strikes me watching you, Dave, is they're not diving, and that's something I look for in a pellet waggler. You don't want them. You know, you see them some designs, and no matter how you set them up, they seem to dive a bit, but they don't. They just hit the water and they're fishing straight away, which is what you want, isn't it?
They're they hit the water, pop up, and you know, and the important thing as well is, you know, they've got obviously the attachment. There's one splashing around. Let's see if I can see any more, Tom. I have to put my glasses on a minute, Tom. Could do with this wind dropping a little bit.
No one excuses, Dave. I want a carp.
Well, I can't mug what I can't see, Tom.
Lovely, deft little flick. No diving. I like how obviously the end game with this is for the waggler to hit the water and imitate the sound of a pellet in the water, isn't it? Which it does quite nicely. It certainly doesn't go splash, which is.
The thing is with pellet waggler fishing or any type of. Oh, that was a little.
Yes.
Oh, look at that, Tom.
Is that what we call fish porn?
Oof, that was nice, wasn't it? He came and found that one. That had been in the water a little while, hadn't it? Mm. But Yeah, the big thing, like any shallow fishing or pellet waggler fishing, acoustics is a massive part of it, isn't it? And
Acoustic, that's a lovely word for it. I don't think we've had that in the review before.
I've been waiting to get that one into.
Robbie Griffiths, have you considered the acoustics of your products?
It's I think that's a great phrase to use with. A great word to associate with shallow fishing, but yeah, so it's all about noise, isn't it? You know, and that's why, you know, when you like we've just set up one pellet waggler today. For now, you know, we've set up the small one for a bit of mugging. Ooh, can you hear that, Tom?
I can.
Oh, listen at that!
Angry Dave, very angry carp. Dave, careful.
He took one look at you and it's off. Not the first time that's happened.
Stop it, Dave.
So yeah, if you're, we've set up just this little dinky pellet waggler for this purpose. Later on, we'll set up the bigger ones and do some proper
some feed later. Can't we?
Yeah, proper feed and that. But if you were fishing pole and you were fishing shallow, you'd have 2 or 3 rigs set up, maybe more for shallow fishing. And it's the same with waggler fishing, isn't it? You know, you need to cover different size wagglers for what you're trying to achieve, but also different wagglers that make different noise. You know. So this is just one setup. Probably could tighten that clutch up, but I quite like it, Tom. It's
I can see you're enjoying your day, aren't you? Does it not feel like it's the first day of summer?
Well, it does. I mean, the first fish of the year on pellet waggler. It's, you know, it doesn't get more. It's not summer, is it, Tom? It's spring.
I think it said on the calendar actually, and this is true. I don't quite understand it, but we had the old clocks going back, which said first day of spring, and then about 3 days later it said British summertime begins. So might be summer.
Oh, well, okay. Well, whatever they say.
Nice parabolic action there, Dave, on the old rod, I must say.
Yeah. It's 11 foot. I find is just a brilliant length for pellet waggler, isn't it? As long as you don't have to do anything too extreme, like, you know, casting a long way or anything like that. I don't think you need to go any shorter than 11 foot, and I don't think you need to go any longer than 11 foot. Here we go.
Plodding around quite nicely, that one, isn't it? That's a large carp, Dave, that, you know.
We only deal in lumps, Tom.
Let's have a look at him.
Oh, hello.
Oh, fantastic. Mirror.
I tightened that clutch down a bit there, Tom. I'm not messing around.
You just told me you were enjoying the fight.
Yeah, I got bored.
You changed your tune.
I got bored. But however, this is fighting like a fish that hasn't been caught yet this year.
You need to be careful, you today. You know that.
Why is that?
Bold people always get sunburned quite badly.
So we're literally 5 minutes into the film and you've started attacking my appearance, my failings as a human being.
I've only got your best interest at heart, my old beauty. And look at that. Is it £3, £4 carp? Lovely fish.
What I lack in hair, I make up for in fishing ability, Tom, you know.
That is true, that is true.
Now look at
Very
that.
capable guy.
So there you go. That's our first fish on the new Preston pellet wagglers. And I'm going to go out there and say, it won't be my last, I don't think, Tom. I like it.
It's a lovely looking, glistening in the morning light there as well.
Oh. Beautiful. So we can say it's the first part of the job was to mug a fish.
You've done that.
We've done that.
I think what we should do to keep the I want to bring another good word in now. To keep the narrative of the film going, to keep the story going. I think what we should do now is definitely let me get on the box. Definitely let me have a go on the bob. And then we can start to properly talk through the products we've got today. How does that make you feel?
That's fine. I want to see you catch one anyway, Tom.
Let's have a go.
I've shown you how to do it and how to cast properly. I have no doubt you'll just go at it like Zorro now. And
let's see how we get on.
So Tom, we're on the bomb now, and it's fair to say, with conditions, the venue we're fishing, how deep do you think it is out there?
12, 14 foot long.
Yeah, there's not going to be many fish on the bottom today, so we decided to go a bit different with the bomb, didn't we? We thought we'd give ourselves a chance with this of catching a fish. So we're actually fishing it as like a marginal rig, aren't we?
Yeah, and the tool we've got for the job, the Shimano Aero X7 feeder rod, is absolutely perfectly suited for this sort of thing, because not only is obviously it's short, so it suits landing fish quickly, but there's a few features about the design of the rod which make it great for fishing on slopes, really.
So this is a 9 foot rod. We've used 9 foot rods before, haven't we? It's a very pop it all as a liner. Go on.
Is that a liner?
Is that a liner or a bite?
I think that's a bite, Dave. Oh, look at that.
That'll be on then, Tom.
That'll be on, the old beauty.
So we've just to explain, we've just set a little trap down here, and we put some pellets in because these fish obviously don't want to be on the bottom. So we've just put a pile of bait in down the edge, chucked a double pellet over the side, and in no time at all. Well, I'll tell you what, that I don't know whether that fish didn't really want to fight or whether it just didn't like the action of the Aero X7 rod. But that came in quite easily, Tom.
I think, mate. And
is it as easy as you make it look?
I've been asked this before, as you can imagine, folks. But no, I've got to say, the design of this rod is perfectly suited for exactly what we've just done. A, short, so you can obviously net the fish quite quickly. Obviously, when you do what I've just done there, they always go mad in the landing net as they are now. That's an occupational hazard.
I just realised he's been hooked.
It's nicely hooked in the bottom lip, that one. Nice mirror. £5, isn't he?
That's a good start, anyway.
Yeah, so one of the key features of this rod that make it perfectly suited to this sort of work are the tips.
Yeah,
Splice tips.
This is interesting because I've not seen this before. So as opposed to having a carrier section with multi-tips to go into that carrier section, you've actually got 3 tip sections. The entire tip section we've got here of the rods. So it's they're splice tips. And there's 3 different variants. You actually got a real ultra-fine one, 0.25 of an ounce. I don't think I've ever seen a tip that light on a commercial rod. 0.25 of an ounce, 0.75, and that's a 1 ounce tip, isn't it, we've got in there. So these are, those are the sort of tips you perhaps associate with roach and bream fishing normally and things like that. So explain to me, these are Nick Speed's had a massive input in these, hasn't he? And,
yeah. It's fair to say he's a man behind them.
And he's also a bit of an innovator in this game. I think he's, I've watched some of Nick's videos and they're absolutely brilliant. So what's his thinking behind this?
A bit close, that one, Dave.
That was good cast, that was, Tom.
It's I'm going for the old underarm, and it's not without its risks. Let's not deny the. That'll do.
You laugh in the face of danger, Tom.
Yes. So splice tips. Now these are obviously a common feature on Shimano rods historically. I'll let you feed. You with the gilly. You're used to that, Dave, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah, they're obviously a common feature on Shimano rods historically. Ranges like the Beastmaster and I think the Speedmaster had splice tips in them. The reason Nick was so keen to incorporate them in this rod is, well, anyway, straight away they're in on that, aren't they? Is you're able to use a very light tip without affecting the playing action of the rod. Now you saw obviously how quickly we managed to land that fish, and that was because we were able to put some pressure on it and then keep the pressure on it, which the softness of the rod allowed us to do. But it's still got a bit of backbone to it, so we could ultimately keep the fish coming towards us and net it. But the advantage of these light tips, and the reason he's designed them like he has, is when you're fishing on slopes, or up to islands specifically, to be fair, but any sort of slope, the same principle applies. When you get a liner, it doesn't pull your feeder or your bomb down the slope and away from where you're fishing.
And that's what we're getting here, and we're getting lots of liners here. And like you say, the tip's bend around, but it's not. And I suppose it makes sense, doesn't it? If you have a stiff tip, it's just going to dislodge everything a lot quicker. So it perhaps enables you to keep your bait in place. And like you say, with method feeder fishing, you don't want once your feeder's moved, you've got to bring it in really, haven't you? So that's got to play into that.
Absolutely, I think that's it.
And tell me something, that we both looked at that. We didn't hit that bite straight away because we weren't sure it was a liner or not. And that's could well be down to, that's down to probably the fish picking that bait up and not feeling resistance, isn't it? So not bolting off.
Absolutely.
So in that instance, we haven't sort of the fish, we're fishing into some quite snaggy territory there.
Yes.
But it never really, obviously you showed it was boss, Tom, you know what I mean? You don't mess around, do you? But
well, I didn't like to say, No, you're right. And I've actually used this rod before, and I've seen Nick use it, and you do have that a fair bit and that's because the fish has obviously picked the lead up, and you're seeing exactly what's happening. The fish is trying to shake the bait out of its mouth. With a stronger tip, you probably wouldn't see that because the fish would feel the resistance of your rod and bolt, which means you've got a longer fight on your hands because straight away it's running away from it. So yeah, you might get a rip-roaring bite, but we all know that means the carp's charging off and you can't control it. Whereas with that, obviously we're able to control it and subdue it quite easily. So yes.
So on the rod itself then, obviously it looks nice, as you'd expect from a 9-foot rod. It's a nice slim blank. but it looks nice. It looks like it's got quality. You know, the handle's nice. You know, it's got nice design there. Bit of neoprene or Duplon or whatever you want to call it, and half cork, and it looks the part.
It's a classy piece of kit. It should be. I mean, I think the price tag's about $250 on this one, so it's an expensive rod.
I've never known Shimano to do budget rods though. Have you?
No.
So I think you expect that. Well, you expect that quality with
there is a cheaper range, I believe. The Airnos range, I think, is a bit cheaper than this. But
you probably bought them, didn't you?
Stop it, Dave. You know, a man of quality. That's me. And refinement.
Okay, not a tight Yorkshireman.
No.
I've got to be careful. I'm in Yorkshire, aren't I?
You are. Yeah, you're actually just in South Yorkshire, believe it. You're right on the border between, I think, South and East Yorkshire. Because I know on the first or the second lockdown, I've had that many lockdowns, I can lose count. But the second one, me and Matt Godfrey could come here because it was just in our county, so we were still allowed to.
Yeah. No, I do. I like Yorkshire. I'd just like to put that out there. I love Yorkshire and love Yorkshire people.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I'm not so keen on the Herefordians myself.
Despite having Lancashire roots, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's a classy piece of kit. It looks fantastic. The cork's nice, as you say, neoprene. Quality reel seat. The eyes, you know, they're oversized, which you obviously need on this rod because of its design. Lighter tips, but you're still going to be fishing them with fairly robust mainline. I mean, we've got £8 mainline on here, and there's no problem.
Put some more bait in, Tom. You know?
Yeah, feed again for us, Dave. You know,
you're being a bit frugal.
Feed again. I'm just trying to make them get their heads down. I just think when we pick that Waggler up, folks, it's going to be an absolute carp fest.
Yeah, this is a sideshow to me, Tom. But we need to do it. We need to go through the process.
Definitely. Well, I've actually caught a carp on the rod now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get off the box, let you get on the box, so that the next time it pulls round, you can have a go at playing a fish on the Shimano Aero X7 and tell me exactly what you think of it. So that's interesting, Dave. That's the second bite we've had on the X7 today, and the second one we've queried whether it's actually on or not, isn't it?
I just felt like just pick it up and just nod off.
It almost came towards you, didn't it? But again, I think that is testament to those tips working as they should actually, because the fish certainly aren't bolting off and ripping the rod around, are they?
No. It's a very slim piece of carbon with a lot of that's what got me about it. Is you see those splice tips. And they're very sort of soft, and you think, wow, that's, you know, how about a commercial rod? But then when you look at it, when everything just kicks in, there's a lot of power there.
Yes, there's a lot of power there. I think it's a lovely rod. I really do.
It's totally different to anything of sort of.
And look at this, you know, this fish again swimming towards you, lovely. You're in control.
See, I like splice tip. You know, when we like float rods, splice tip. What would you like if it was done well?
Yeah.
If a splice tip's done well, it's as good. It just has a lovely action to a rod.
Yes.
If it's done badly, it has a great big flat spot. But this is.
The word sublime.
Sublime. You took the words out of my mouth, Tom.
It's performing nicely. One thing that Nick Speed did say about this range when I spoke to him as well is the fact that it's got the, I think it's the X7 technology, I think that's what it's called, but the carbon technology anyway that it's got really does aid casting accuracy, which a lot of people overlook with a soft rod. A lot of manufacturers seem to think, oh, if it's a short rod, you can put as much glass in it or as much resin in it as you want, because, you know, accuracy doesn't matter, or casting distance doesn't matter. But what you lose when you have two floppier rods, so to speak, is accuracy. And you know as well as I do, when you're chucking, you know, with that maybe 20 metres up to an island, you might be chucking it in a little mud hole. That's when you need that accuracy, isn't it?
It's sometimes harder to be accurate at shorter ranges, isn't it?
I certainly find that.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Stop it, Dave.
No, tell me, what other rods are in
You're
the
making a
range?
meal out of this, pal, aren't you?
I'm just enjoying it. It's such a nice rod to use.
Oh, you're enjoying it, are you, pal?
Do I look like I'm sweating? I'm not pulling.
You're having a great day, aren't you,
I
pal?
am.
You are.
Day in the sun.
You
Now, tell
are.
me about what other rods are in the range.
So, we've got a pellet waggler
I hope
rod.
you've done your
I've
research.
done my own work. 10-foot pellet waggler rod, lovely, which I've got as well, actually, which is a lovely piece of kit. Not in the wing, is it, Dave?
No, I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't foul at one, would you?
No, I wouldn't do that.
10-foot pellet waggler, which again is a lovely piece of kit. And there's a distance rod as well. A 12-foot distance tool, which I know Nick Speed uses at Worsborough. There's also a softer Waggler rod in the range, which I actually did a video on Shimano 4 back a couple of years ago. Caught a load of chub out of Bonsai Lake on it, and that day looked a lovely piece of kit. You're knocking the splice tips everywhere, David. This is...
Tom, you need a shorter landing.
Can we cue the circus music, please? No, I think it's fair to say we've given that a good test on a day when probably bomb fishing isn't going to be the ideal method, is it?
Yeah, but what we did, Tom, is we adapted. We adapted to conditions. Look at that.
That's a lovely carp, isn't it?
Pretty one, isn't it?
Absolutely lovely. All the fishing here are in nice condition, I've noticed. There's none with the bad lips that you sometimes get.
No. I love it. Can we go Waggler fishing now, please?
I think it's time.
I'll let you have first go.
Oh, what a guy.
Well, Tom, common sense has prevailed, and we're back on the Waggler now.
We're back on the Waggler, and that was quite literally, I think, the second cast I've had. We've put a bigger Waggler on from the mugging Waggler that we started on, a 6-gram model. But the nice thing with these Preston ones is, obviously, there's a lot of different sizes available, isn't there?
Yeah. So I was obviously. I mean, there's a number of things to look at with these Wagglers. You know, obviously, the first thing, you know, is the design of them, the build. They're obviously a balsa Waggler. Very easy on the eye, aren't they? They look.
You know, you're the third person today who's seen them and said that, really.
Yeah.
Well, that was my first impression. Even Jack, the cameraman, likes them.
Yeah, but Jack likes lots of things, in all fairness. So.
Jack's a man of great taste, Dave. You shouldn't say things like that.
But yeah, they look nice. So then, you know, balsa is a bit more lovely, isn't it? Eh?
Sorry, it's a bit of showboat in there.
Yeah, no.
Shameless.
Make the most of it while it lasts, Tom, because it won't last.
I'm going to be an Instagram star, pal. You know that.
So yeah, so they look right. They're made of balsa, you know, so they've got that. They're gonna have that bit of durability about them. And then the weight design is quite interesting. So the floats pop out of the weight housing, if that's the right word. So they're not interchangeable as such, because you've got that, you know, you'd have to put like a split snap link on the swivel coming out the bottom to change them over regularly. But you could use those as, you know, if you wanted to use them with a standard float adapter and a shot, you know, which is something I still do a lot of. I still like using shots. You know, I like to have. We were talking earlier about acoustics. You know, some days it's just nice to have a shot rig. You know, just it sounds different as it hits the water. These are neat. You know, probably the neatest way of doing it. So you've got a bit of variation there. Just saw there as well how straight they fly.
And that's with me casting. Imagine what it'd be like with a good pellet waggler angler casting.
It's easy for you to say.
Stop it, Dave.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's going to be your main thing, isn't it? There's obviously a lot of thought gone into the design, and they do seem to cast straight. We've got those attached with the float stops that they provide as well, which we'll have a closer look at, because those in themselves are a bit different, aren't they? They're as opposed to being Tom.
Oh, stop it, Dave. Should have tightened the old clutch up a little bit, shouldn't I?
This sort of fishing suits your sort of strike, doesn't it? You like a fast, hard strike.
Fast and hard with everything I do, Dave.
Yeah. But the
and great acoustics as well.
No, I've got pictures in my mind now I don't want to see.
I meant the reel.
So we were talking about these stops. Now, so these are a bit different, aren't they, in the way that they've been designed. So they're more of a sort of a barrel shape as opposed to an egg shape, if you like. And the idea behind that is that, you know, you can put these on your line to keep your pellet waggler in place, but they butt up again. If you're fishing a bigger waggler and you're scared, you know, you want to give it extra security so it doesn't slip.
Yeah.
You can put two on and they sit, you know, end to end, very neat on the line.
We do. The thing with them is, as well, you know, look, everyone likes a small line stop now, whether it's waggler fishing, feeder fishing, whatever. We're all trying to get away with the smallest one we can, aren't we? And what that does mean sometimes is, obviously, there's not as much flexibility or grip in the rubber, because obviously the bigger the line stop, the more traction it's got on the line. So I think it's a really good idea, because you can, if you need 3 on to hold a big waggler, or don't suppose you'd use them for bomb or feeder fishing. You could do, but you know, you can put them on. Interestingly, they're supplied with three in total. So I'm guessing that's planned to be one below the. What's it, one above the float and two below? That's on each strand, you know.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so there's but I think like when we set the little mugging waggler up to start with, I just put one either side because that's all it needed. You know?
Yes.
But they seem pretty tough on the line, you know.
Well, we haven't one move yet, have we? And it is worth saying though, it's a double-edged test in a way because we've got the line as well. We've got the you know, the line which again is purpose made for float fishing. So this is a lively little character, Dave.
He's probably not very happy about being caught, Tom.
I think
especially by you. He's probably absolutely distraught.
I think you've upset him, pal. It was something you said or something I did. I'm not sure. We'll have to do the old butt trick again. I'm into this now. Can you see? Do I look like a seasoned pellet waggler professional, pal?
I'll let you know.
No, there's no need to be like that, is there?
This is one of those occasions where I'm just itching to have a go, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll get this one unhooked because it's taken the...
I'm hoping you might take ill or something like that and have to go and have a break.
Could happen. Very hot, pal, very hot.
It is warm now, mind, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? So do you want a little go on this rod then? Is that basically what you're getting round to asking?
I'm not asking, I'm telling. Come on, let me have a go.
You are the dedicated older person, so there we are.
Well, Tom, it's that part of the show that causes controversy, argument, shockwaves around the world.
As divisive as the Oprah Winfrey, Harry and Meghan interview, isn't
more
it?
so, some would say.
Yeah.
And this week is no different.
Do you know you have been called the Piers Morgan of the angling world before? How does that make you feel?
Very bad. But anyway, so ask me the question, Tom.
Dave, what's in the bag this week?
Help yourself, have a look. It's quite a substantial bag this week.
It is, isn't it? With the king on the front.
With the king,
why not?
obviously.
And we've got 2 bags, looking at this, Dave, of pellets.
Now, we've been using pellets today, and it's not about the pellets, Tom. It's about the bag they're in.
Right.
Okay, now, let me explain this to you, and I'm not trying to cause controversy.
You sure?
Well, I am a little bit, but one of my biggest bugbears, and you know I have plenty, I can be quite a miserable old so-and-so at times, but one of my big bugbears is fishery-owned pellets, which actually aren't fishery-owned pellets. They're the same pellets that you and I can buy in the shop from a wholesaler, what have you. I've got sacks of pellets at home, and I could spend 40 quid on fuel, drive into a Fishermania qualifier that I've spent 35 quid for a ticket, or whatever it is, 50 quid for a qualifier ticket, and all that expense and all that effort, and in one final insult you reach the fishery and you're told you have to buy their pellets, the same pellets I've got at home. And whilst I accept that the clue's in the name, commercial fishery, it's a commercial operation, I feel that this goes a bit far.
Do you? Well, it's an interesting one. I mean, nobody likes spending money, do they? Especially the Yorkshiremen. I hate spending money, Dave. So
it's been noted.
I sympathise in that sense. But one thing I do feel, and so I strongly disagree with you actually about this, is commercial fisheries, as we call them, are very cheap. Where else can you go and have a day out for 8, 9, 10 quid, whatever a day ticket is, depending on where you're going? You know, you couldn't do anything for a tenner, could you? Anywhere. So you don't have to use pellets either. You know, you're free to use other baits. If they want to make 3 or 4 quid on a bag of pellets, to me, they're quite entitled to do that. It's another revenue stream for the fishery. I work in the trade. I want these people to have lovely videos promoting the fisheries. They've got to make the money somehow. And
that's why I say I am, you know, I do get the commercial side of it. I just find it's... All right, okay, I'll give you an example. Right? I'm not, this bag here, right, I've covered the name, right, because I don't feel, because it's a brilliant fishery and I've got nothing against it at all. But I don't want to single anyone out because everyone's doing this. But to their credit, they've packaged that, they've paid for that packaging themselves. It's got a price on it, £2.50. It's done properly. They've even added some different colours of pellets in there. You know, to sort of to give them identity. But that's the same thing bought from another fishery. They charged me the same price, more actually. I think it was £3 for that bag. There might be a few more in there. And it's just in a plastic bag. It's not even, you know, and I'm just like, at least with this, you're buying a product that someone's actually put some time and effort into putting on the thing. I know I'm sounding tight.
You sound old and miserable, Dave.
But I just feel, is it just commercialism for the sake of it?
Let me ask you another question, because I know where both these bags of pellets have come from, and they're two of the best fisheries in the country. I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
In terms of the level of stock. Would you rather them not have fishery pellets and not stock as many fish? Because that's where the commercial element comes into it. The money they make, an element of that will be reinvested because they want people to keep coming back.
It's a fantastic point you've made, actually, and I totally get that. However, I just think when you look at the long and short of it, look at the rule board on a fishery. Right? That is the only rule on that board that's about. It's purely about. It's not about fish welfare. It's about commercialism.
I don't totally agree either there, to be honest, because I've been to venues in the past where people have fed trout pellets, halibut pellets. I know you don't see a lot of it anymore, but I do think it's rooted historically at a lot of places in fish welfare. And I think another important thing, which is often neglected, and one fishery owner did explain to me, is you can regulate by doing this how much bait's going into the lake to some extent.
Yeah, I'll give. There was a fishery I went to as well, a very good fishery. I won't name names, but I was involved in a conversation with the owner, and he'd banned someone for not using their pellets. Same sort of setup as this, and he actually said, look, it is how it is. It's a commercial fishery, and he said the guy in question never made any attempt to purchase any, but hasn't done for months. He said, I've been waiting to catch him. He said, just buy a bag. Show willing, so I accept it goes on. I can't, and I'm not saying that's the way forward, but I'm just saying there was a little. I could see that point.
We're both men of the world, Dave. We both know that people will bend rules.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying, Tom.
Well, you're not cheating if you get caught, are you? That's the other side to it. No, people do, don't they? People do use their own pellets, and they do. And it is about showing willing. It is about that. It's like everything in life. I'll always do it because it's the worst possible thing. Imagine if somebody, said you were cheating or caught you cheating. That's how they could describe you if you weren't using venue pellets. You're cheating. So it is very, very difficult. I'll tell you one thing that I have come across quite a lot, which is just worth mentioning for those anglers who maybe are watching this who aren't so experienced on the match scene. But a really good tip is if you get a good batch of fishery pellets, because they do vary, coppins and screttings do vary from batch to batch. If you get a good batch, some of the anglers in the know actually stock up on them. I know you've probably done that in the past. I've certainly done it at certain venues. So that's worth bearing in mind. So,
and another point to that as well is I've still got that bag of pellets. I didn't use that one last time I was there, so that's on one up before the next time I go there, aren't I?
You're one up for the next time you go there, exactly, Dave. It's.
I'm not trying to be miserable, and I'm certainly not. Some of these, and in all fairness, I feel guilty talking about it because some of these fisheries are absolutely fantastic. I love going to them. It's just always one that's just always bugged me. I think it's because I get home and I see all these bags of pellets, and they're all the same pellets, just with different livery. Is that the word or whatever?
Yeah.
And I just think, is it necessary? But I accept we live in a commercial world. I hope they don't start doing it on the river.
If I got a fishery, I would definitely have fishery pellets. I'd definitely, you can only be on it. I've got to be brutally honest. I'd do that because you need revenue. And like any business, you want money coming in so you can improve. And it's not about greed. It's about revenue so that you can then. Once you've got the money in the bank, you can maybe consider restocking the lakes, or you can consider tidying the banks. Everyone wants. I've noticed this. This is me ranting now. Sorry.
No. Obviously.
But commercial anglers can be a lazy breed at times, and they want everything. They want to park behind the peg. They want no fishery pellets. They want food delivered to the peg. They want all this lovely convenience of nice tracks coming in, lovely platforms in a good state of repair that are solid.
That was just the list I wrote out before we came, Tom.
This is what they want. And the thing is, where's the money for all that coming from? It's not coming from a £7 day ticket, Dave, is it?
But we haven't paid for fishery pellets here today, have we?
No. Well, this Sykehouse is a bit different, and I think it's somewhere that'd suit you by the sound of it.
I can't wait, that's where I'm coming. I'd rather spend an extra 30 quid on fuel to come here not to buy fishery pellets.
Sounds about right.
False economy, isn't it?
Shall we go and catch some more fish on the Waggler?
Can I just say that I didn't, at no point did I associate the word greed with these fishery pellets. I don't want people saying these fishers are greedy. I'm just saying it's a rule I don't really like.
Well, you're not on your own, are you?
And you've made some fabulous points, in all fairness, but I shall still begrudge it.
Oh, absolutely. As I say, nobody likes spending money, least of all me. But I do really feel, we have to look at the bigger picture of it, and
Absolutely.
you need revenue. If you're going to improve a business of any size or type, you need money coming in. It's simple as that.
Absolutely. Should we go and throw some of these in?
Let's do it.
Come on.
So it didn't take you long, did it? You've been on the box no more than 5 minutes, probably more like 3 minutes, and you've nailed one. But it's fair to say pellet waggler is a method you like, isn't it?
It's probably, it's my favourite method, I'd say, with commercial fishing. I think when I sort of made the effort to come into commercial fishing and learn it, which was hard. It's not a young man. I wasn't a young man then. I'm not a young man now. To try and learn new, something that I'd ignored for years. This was a method that I sort of recognised and thought, actually, I can do that. I'm sure I can do that. And I got half decent at it. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's plenty better at it than me, but I just enjoy the whole processes that you go through: the feeding, the casting, the variations. Sometimes feeding first and casting on top of it, or casting and feeding and drawing you. There's just so many. It's all shallow fishing. In all fairness, it's just variations, and you never sit still, do you? It's just on the go. Even some of those real hard days when you only need 5-6 bites for £60.
Yes.
It's still a busy day and enjoyable.
It's very busy, it's very enjoyable, and it's very skillful as well. There's an awful lot to it, isn't there? It's something I've obviously had a little bit of success on over the years, but I've not done loads of it. And it was interesting, I think it was 2 years ago, 2019, when Jordan Holloway qualified for the Fisho final. And we had a bit of time looking at it then, really, because there were some anglers who were just streets ahead at what they did on it. Jamie Hughes, Paul Holland, to name the two that we were watching at the time. It was interesting to watch, how they did it, and it made me realise there's an awful lot to it, And I think, it's fair to say the tackle that you use is probably the most important thing, isn't it, with this sort of fishing?
Yeah, it's everything's got to be working, hasn't it? And we're using new Wagglers today and things like that, and you've got to know your equipment, what it's doing, because a lot of this is about accuracy, it's about control, things like that, grouping your catapults, even things like that, grouping your pellets, being able to be accurate with what you're doing, and getting as many opportunities for a bite as you can. And if you're casting and you're not casting on top of your feed and things like that, then it's only going to cut down your chances of catching, isn't it?
You said something to me on in between takes then, which I don't think you've ever said on this show before. You said you're going to order 2 of those 11-foot Cadence rods for yourself, for your own fishing.
I've got to tell you the truth, I've already spoken to James about it. I said I want one, and he said right. I said I actually want 2. So it's.
I think you tried your luck. I think didn't he say you can have that one? Then he said, "Oh, I want another one." I think you're getting cocky.
No, I'm not that at all. I just looked at them. Missed that one. I missed a bite, Tom.
No, you don't do that very often, do you, Paul?
They just feel right to me, and there's, I've used quite a few pellet Waggler rods of different makes, and these just seem to have a real modern take.
Let's run through them then, butt to tip. So we've got obviously a bit of neoprene at the bottom there, cork in the middle, similar to the Shimano rod in design there. Fiji reel seat.
Fuji even
reel seat. Well, that's what we're today. I keep getting the P's and Q's all over, don't I?
Usually you're quite eloquent, Tom. But
not today, pal. No. Not today. Yeah, Fuji reel seat, and that nice screw fit in there, which I do like. Guides all look nice again, Fuji guides.
It is. I mean, that is it. They have been for many a year, and they are recognised as the best reel seats and guides. And why not use them? They're just, he does on all the rods, and they work, don't they?
It's I tell you what I like about the and as you know, I couldn't care less really what something looks like, but they do look a really nice, classy, understated, if anything, which I like, product, don't they?
I think that, and I might have said it before, but I think you can tell a Cadence product now, a rod. You know, if you look at, if someone's holding a rod, you could tell it was a Cadence rod, and that's, you know, it's not like it's garish, it's not like it's a different colour, it's black like many rods, but it just the way it looks and the way it handles. I was impressed with it, like how slim. I know it's an 11-foot rod, but it was just very slim. But this is the interesting thing about these rods, I find. You obviously had my usual chat with James about it. So I always come away just completely gobsmacked, just like, wow. But basically, I didn't realise that the 11-foot rod that the silverfish, sort of the softer Waggler rod that we took to Lindome last year.
I thought you got 2 lines on the go, that's why I know.
That was, you know, we're all fallible, Tom. Yeah, it's basically the same rod, just the same action rod, just stepped up.
Yeah.
So, you know, so what they do, and this is how the Cadence brand is developing the ranges. Rather than bringing out a rod and going, that's a Pellet Waggler rod, it's the same rod as the lighter rod, same action, but stiffer. So this will still bend right from the rod to the butt, you know, but it won't do it. It'll do it under a lot more pressure.
Yes.
And he was saying that the 3 rods, because obviously this is the number 3, this is the CR10 11-foot match number 3, and he was saying that basically the action changes by about 20% on each rod.
Right, okay.
So that number 2 is 20% more than the number 1.
I always find it a really difficult concept to get my head around. This, like, what's 100%? So 100% would presumably be like a poker, no bend at all, and 0% would be water.
Basically, yeah. It's that change, you know. So it's not, you know, it's not what I said that's a Pellet Waggler rod, because there's chaps fishing some of the small chalk streams and some of the smaller rivers, like the Dorset Stour and places like that, where they're fishing for chub with them because they don't want.
Anybody who fishes the Dorset Stour is far too rich to buy a Cadence rod. Probably to be handmade by
Bruce and Walker or something like that.
Farlows of Pall Mall.
Oh, marvellous! Yeah, no, that's. But yeah, so that's why they're not. You know, this is the way all the and if you look at the 12-foot rods, the match rods, the CR10s in 12-foot, they're the same. They're stepped. There's three versions.
Yes.
So it's not like bringing out a rod that's got a gimmick to it. You know, a name like it's a Pellet Waggler rod. So only people who are going to be fishing Pellet Waggler are going to buy it. You know, it's a rod that you could use for many things. It's all about the action.
Cadence is that, mate. It's quality, affordable, good fishing tackle, isn't it? At a price point that a lot of anglers find attractive.
Did I tell you the price of this rod, by the way?
No, you didn't.
Have a guess.
140 quid?
Yeah, 20 quid over there. 120 quid.
120 quid, yeah, it's a bargain. Absolute bargain. So you could get 3 of them for the price of some of the competition, couldn't you?
Absolutely.
And let's be honest, I don't know how you could improve that rod. Can you think of anything you'd do different?
No, that's why I've ordered 2 of them.
Literally, I can't.
They have, because Pellet Waggler went through this thing, didn't it, where a lot of companies bought out Pellet Waggler rods, and some of them bought some real cheap rods out, you know, which, you know, it was almost, I don't know, I can never understand that, because it was like, you had top flight match anglers saying, oh yeah, these rods are 30 quid or something like that, you know, and they're as good as anything, and you're like, well, they're clearly not. And I could never understand that cheapness. Fair enough, have a budget range, or, you know, have cheaper rods, you know, that'll do a job. But this is a rod that's very well priced. Feels like a rod a lot more expensive to me. And
the other thing I'll say as well, to the credit, you know, just think of the Cadence rods I now own. I've got 2 rods. I've got the 11-foot one, which I cadged after the Lindome experience.
That's where it went.
I've used that since that day, very regularly for grayling fishing on the Don. Because obviously you want a short rod often because you're diving down banks and under brambles and, you know, generally causing mayhem. So.
And what happens when you go fishing?
Stop it, Dave. So, yeah, it's a brilliant rod. It's, you know, it's not folding in half after 3 months. That's what I'm going to say. It's obviously well made and strong and up to the task. And likewise, I've got a 15-foot float rod, number 2 float rod, that I bought before that. A couple of years ago I bought that, and that's That's been brilliant as well.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, I'm more and more impressed. You know, I'm a fan, but certainly these rods were just. I was in the mood for buying some new, you know, looking at some new Waggler rods. You know, and I am looking for specific pellet Waggler rods.
All the money you'd saved from not using fishery pellets?
I'm going to rise above these insults, Tom.
Not an insults question, mate.
Come on, you're not allowed to moan about paying for something in Yorkshire. Come on, what's the world coming for?
Oh,
Yes,
Dave.
look at that.
Absolute fish porn.
Now, I'm going to talk you through this, and we're going to talk about the action of this rod, because now it wouldn't matter to me now, right, if that fish I've got on there now, which is probably going to be somewhere in the region between £4 and £7, I imagine, but if it was £20, I'd feel I was in control with this rod. Do you know what I mean? It's got, you know, there's plenty in there, but you can see that bend it does bend right through, and that's the cadence thing. That's what cadence means, isn't it? If you look at the translation of cadence, it is, or the definition of cadence, it's about curvature or whatever. You'll tell me, you're more educated than me, Tom, but it's, you know, that's what it's about. And there is a certain, you know, there's just a certain pureness to that action, isn't there?
It's lovely and true.
And, you know,
No flat spots.
Yeah, it just you know, like I say, and you just choose we might want to, you know, you might want to be fishing the same way, but maybe with F1s, or, you know, even bring one, and you might then drop down to the number 2 because you just want something a little bit that bends a bit more. But you know, pellet waggler fishing for carp, it ain't, you know, you're not gonna, like you say, you don't want anything that's poker stiff, it's gonna lock up, and this will never lock up.
No.
But look, you know, we're in complete control.
So, Dave, I've actually got a little surprise for you. You didn't realise at the time, but you are fishing in a challenge at the minute. Did you know that?
What a match.
Yeah, a match. Jack and I agreed it'd be great fun to see how long it would take you to catch one on the Waggler.
All right, and how long did it take, Tom?
Well, I can't tell you that until Jack obviously gives me the scores on the doors, but that'll be on the screen now for the lovely viewers out there. And my challenge now is to beat that. So what I'm basically telling you is when you've landed this pal, it's my go.
Right, okay. I better get it in then, haven't I?
You better do, otherwise it could go on forever.
I'm swimming around in circles. You put pressure on me now.
I'm the kind of guy I am. Look at that. Lovely bend in the rod. Everything's just working. The whole setup's just working together seamlessly, isn't it?
It's lovely, mate. Absolutely. Like I say, and there's still, you know, if that fish was double this size, I'd still feel like I'd have control. It wouldn't be bending down.
Just nice match-size fish to catch. And you know, one thing I love about here at Sykehouse, it's the same with the silvers. I don't know why, but the fish seem in such good condition. The fish's mouths are all, you know, lovely.
Yeah. And they're enjoying a bit of sunshine today, aren't they?
They really are. They really are. So, Dave's time will be on the screen now.
I must have been quick. I mean, you'll take some beating that will, won't it?
Hold it up for the camera. Go on.
And does size come into it? Is it surely about speed?
No, it's about speed.
Right, okay, you better have a go then.
We'll have a go. And then we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about these terminal bits from Preston Innovations and see if I can beat the standard you've set, Dave.
Well, high standards, Tom, but records are there to be broken.
Records are there to be broken. I love it. Thank you very much.
So time starts now then, Tom. Does it start when your waggler hits the water? Is that what we're saying here?
I think that sounds a very fair and plausible
I bet you'll get a bite straight away, wouldn't you?
I don't know. It's you could say that as an expert, you've sort of primed the peg for me, which would be true, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I do love how lovely and straight and true those wagglers fly. It's
yeah,
lovely.
they're you know, that's one of the biggest things with wagglers, isn't it? You know, there's different ways you can set wagglers up. You know, and I have used a lot of pellet wagglers, and it's always been something you're looking for. And I find with those, they fly straight with using the stops.
Yes.
But we do find one little trick is it's not a trick, but the best way to set them up is to have to have a gap between the stops, isn't it?
I wouldn't have counted anyway, was it? It wasn't in the mouth, Dave. I mean,
You're trying to foul hook them now, are you?
I wouldn't have taken that one, pal. You know,
It would have taken you a long time to get it in anyway.
I'm a competitive man, but I'm not that competitive. You know, it's only Pellet though, the devil.
Yeah. So you look there. We've got that set up with it. We've got like what's that? 3 inches between the two stops.
Yes.
So it's running, which is a good practice for pellet waggler fishing anyway, because it gives them that bit of extra. They don't feel any resistance when they.
I must be honest. I quite like it on all waggler fishing that, because I personally think what it does, it allows your float to sort of fold over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As it's in the air, which I think makes it fly better anyway. All waggler fishing. Yeah. Do you think the same?
I'm not used, to be honest. I've not done it a lot on other wagglers. I've done it on pellet wagglers plenty. When I'm using line stops, you know. And that's ultimately that I only use line stops on wagglers generally when I'm carp fishing. So
you're old school then. So you shot on under your floats then.
Yeah.
Oh,
I still like using shot on floats. I do. I say, going back to that word acoustics again. I just think on certain days, you know, 3 or 4 shot hitting the surface over a length of say an inch or an inch and a half, as opposed to on the bottom of these floats, you know, is as much as that's so much neater and so much prettier to look at and probably more effective in general. There is a day when a bulk of shots will just get you more bites on landing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I personally have played about with that. I've never even thought of acoustics on it. I've always done it with, well, not always, but the last 2 years anyway, I've done it by wrapping solder around the base of the float. So all you have in effect is 2 line stops and the solder's wrapped around the bottom of the float. It was actually Alan Scotthorne who came up with that, and he showed Matt. Matt showed me, and I thought, oh, that's clever, and it gets away with all the awkward trimming shots. But I never even considered there might be a benefit to having your shot hit the water. It makes sense.
It's all again. It goes back to this. It's variations, isn't it? Different variations of feeding, variations of noise, trying to mimic the noise of a pellet hitting the water, which don't be wrong, a 6 gram waggler's probably not going to do, but it's all noise, isn't it?
There's more than one way to skin a rabbit, love, isn't there?
That's true. I haven't seen any rabbits today.
No rabbits knocking about.
There's some horses.
There's a few horses around here. Wild horses as well.
Yeah.
There's a song about them. Childhood living is easy to do. The things you want to.
Is that another Rolling Stones song?
I think so.
That's the second Rolling Stones song today that you've quoted.
I'll tell you what, I know. Earlier on I saw a red door and I really want to paint it black on the way home.
Come on, Tom. Catch us a fish. Start me up.
Have a tea with some brown sugar in it, please.
I can't play these games.
There's got to be some more. Was that another Rolling Stones song?
Classic.
It could be. Play the Game's a Queen song, innit? Yeah. Anyway, enough frivolity. Don't try and distract me, Dave. I'm trying to beat you.
How long? We don't know, do we?
We don't know until then.
I'm sure I caught one quicker than this.
I don't think you did, because you were a long time nattering. I think I've got like 3 or 4 minutes left, me.
Put it this way, I'm quite relaxed stood here watching you.
It's the best way to be when you stood watching me, I'm told. I just want to talk briefly about the hooks that we've been using, because they seem pretty good, don't they?
So these are the Preston Innovations KKH-B eyed barbless. So these are quite. I find this interesting actually, because these are. I don't know whether they're. They've got this outturned eye. I don't think that they're not necessarily a pellet waggler hook or a shallow hook, but they're they've got this outturned eye, which I find interesting, because to me I always thought that sort of flew in the face of a knotless knot. I thought the idea of a knotless knot was that it kicked the hook inwards, so you got that sort of grip when it goes into a fish's mouth.
Right.
But I've noticed more and more of these hooks like this over the years, and I noticed when we tied these up earlier, we haven't pre-tied these. We tied them on the bank today, haven't we, Tom?
We have, rough and ready, mate.
Rough and ready, and you still get that. You still get that kick. You still get that inward kick even with these, and it does. The line sits very tidy against the hook. So yeah, they're good. These are again this modern trend now. These are PTFE coated, which I still don't quite know what it means, but I think that's the black finish on them, isn't it?
Well, I know what it means, because it's quite important. There's one here, and if I mug this would be This would beat all your records, pal.
No, you're going for the easy fish.
No, PTFE coated hooks I think are brilliant. I think they keep the point a lot better.
Yeah.
That's what I've sort of found. I mean, Guru, I don't know if the Guru were the first to do it, but the first, oh, see that one? See that one?
Yeah.
It's that little bit of wind picking up for me there. I'm going to get the excuses in early, but a lot of wind picking up.
Blowing the fish towards you.
Stop it, Dave.
Hard life, isn't it, Tom?
Challenge making presentation very difficult, I'd say. No, they keep the point well, and I've just found them to last longer when you're fishing for that reason.
So is this a chemical process then, PTFE coating?
I'd imagine so, yeah. I mean, PTFE is obviously I think it's a hard sort of, is it a plastic PTFE? I'm guessing
I thought it was, but it says PTFE coating for durability and anti-glare. So there you go. So you're not getting it. So that's working on the premise, and that's a whole nother debate.
Yeah.
We might do it one day on the what's in the bag. Some people can't use silver hooks, can they, or nickel hooks? People like psychologically they just think the fish can see it, and think, I'm not one of them in all fairness.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've caught quite a few fish on these now. We've not seen any sign of the blunt of the hook blunting, have we?
No sign of it blunting. They've worked brilliantly.
Have we
I
lost
don't
any
feel
fish? We might have lost one.
That wasn't the hook though, was it? That was we'll not go into that, but that involved the tree, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was the line that broke, but it wasn't the main line. It was the hook line.
It was Waggler error.
Angler. Oh, Davs, this is going to be close, Davs, isn't it?
Not even close, Tom.
Not even close.
Late on parade again, I reckon.
Oh, that was a lovely bite, that was. So, yeah, hooks we've talked about, line stops we've talked about. The actual line itself, let's talk about that.
So this is the Float Max, Reflow Float Max. So obviously it's designed as a floating line, float fishing line. Have you used this before?
Never.
Is it a new line?
I think it is.
So we're actually using, I mean it goes from sizes to 0.16 up to 0.28, crikey, 0.28 £10 breaking strain. Can't imagine what float fishing scenario I'm going to use that for, but I'm sure there is one. Bagging Waggler and things like that, I bet that's what you use that for.
Yeah, yeah.
But we've used it, we actually started quite like, we went on 0.18 today, haven't we? Which has been more than, more than held
those
up.
bigger size, would you not use that for big special wagglers for barbel, that sort of thing, or not?
Possibly, but I think at 0.28 you might lose too much present. You'd have to use, your float just has to get bigger, doesn't it? That's the reality of it. But
I have hooked at angry fish here, Dave. If I lose out on the playing of the fish, I'll be very annoyed.
Yeah, well, don't put any pressure on yourself, Tom. So anyway, so the line is, we've not had any breakages, have we? It's not let us down.
No.
We've caught multiple carp. I don't know how many we've got now, but it's quite a few. There's no sign of wear and tear. In fact, I'll tell you what, when you get this in, eventually, we'll just have a little run of our fingers down the line and see if there's any wear and tear there.
We'll do that. And let me, I do wonder, I shall ask as well, I hope there's some lighter sizes coming, because I'd certainly like to use this for more of my fishing. It's lovely, it's high-tech line, isn't it? It's.
I think as well, Reflow, the Preston Innovations Reflow, when you look at Reflow Power, which you use, I know more people use fluorocarbon and stuff these days, but that Reflow Power has got to be one of the most long-standing and well-used line in the country. So I'm surprised that, well, I may be wrong, but I'm surprised that Reflow haven't sort of come up on a real line that's been as popular almost.
Yes, well, it's interesting you say that, because I know a lot of anglers, pellet waggler anglers actually specifically, Andy Power being one of them, who use power line as a real line. I've done it myself in the lower sizes. It's just an angry little common, mate. Not to get excited about. Nothing to see here, pal.
It's stocky, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought it was £15.
I thought we were catching carp. I thought it was a carp competition.
Well, it's bigger than yours actually, isn't it? To be fair to me.
That's a pasty.
Bigger than yours, pal.
Whatever.
And it's a common. I don't think we've had a common yet, have we? It'll be really good to catch them. So we don't know who's won, but I'd imagine it was you, because you've always been lucky.
So we say, so going back to the lines, Andy Power uses Reflow as main line, but I think maybe this has become as a result of that. Maybe it's a development in the brand, but this is obviously a specific float fishing line. So
yes,
I've been quite impressed with that. Actually, I'll tell you one thing I noticed with lines, especially for pellet waggler fishing, is some of them, the high-tech lines, can almost be too light.
Yes.
So you imagine, so much of this game is about your float hitting the water and you getting a bite within 5 seconds of it hitting the water.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've found that you can find your floats in the water and your line's still in the air. because you're fishing quite loaded floats.
Yes.
Look at that beauty.
Angry.
Angry.
Yeah, so and it's that's a lot to do with the cast as well, isn't it? The sort of darting it.
Yeah, some of the modern lines haven't been quite so, you know, I've not quite enjoyed using them for this sort of thing. But this has been all right.
Yeah, let's have a look then. So, as you say, we've had, well, probably had £100 of fish on it, haven't we, up to now?
Yeah. So let's have a look at that area end.
So
it's
this,
bouncing
isn't
up
it?
and down like.
I notice you've actually wedged the stops against the knot, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
But like, so it's with this, but the wear to me.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing there. It's perfect.
You can't feel any roughness on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it stood the test of time.
And the other thing as well, sometimes you get as well, is because when you're catching big fish and you get them under your rod tip, and you're sort of like leaning into them, you can get just general wear on the line around, you know, in that sort of that 5 or 6 yards above the float, going onto your reel. They can sort of come. You can start hearing it when you're winding. You get like a whistle or a little sort of like a grinding almost.
But I mean, to be fair, that hook stayed sharp. Look, and that's that PTFE coating. That's strong.
Can you see?
Not bent.
Can you get a bit deeper into your finger there?
Stop it, Dave. And the stops, obviously, we've had them wedged at the bottom with the knot, but they haven't moved either. So
yeah, we only put, like I say, changed that and put 2 stops to see how they held, and they held fine. I think if you were really having to whack it out there, you'd probably be using a bigger float anyway. But you might, you know, you'd put 2 on for security. But I'm always interested in see how it affects, you know, how different setups affect the flight of the float.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the key I think we found is just to make sure that you have that gap between the thing. If they're wedged against the float, then it starts to sort of, you know, flight through the air a bit funny like.
No tangles.
Even
with me on the box. So I think it's fair to say the rod, both rods, I'd say exceptional, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
I feel like value for money wise, this Cadence one is unbelievable, to be honest. The quality of the kit that they're putting out there, this rod, I might well follow your lead and order a couple more of them.
You are actually using that is my rod.
Stop it, Dave.
I'll let you use my rod.
And
kind of mine.
Well, it will be after the shoot, maybe.
All right. Don't break it, will you?
Can I have the Wagglers then?
No, they're mine as well.
The Wagglers, I'll definitely be getting some of them for my own fishing, 100%. They're the best commercially available pellet Wagglers I've ever used.
I get excited about things like that. I really do I like the look of them.
Stops are stops, they work. And the hooks are good as well.
Listen, there's thought gone into everything, isn't there? You know, even down to the stops. You know, there's thought into the design of them and how they sit on the line. So, yeah, good on them. And I think as well, there's part of me with the Preston side of things as well. And you mentioned his name before, but part of me thinks that you'd hope that Andy Power has been consulted about these things, because I'm sorry, but for me, he is the best at this game. And there's some really good ones. You mentioned, you know, Jamie Hughes, and I know Andy Bennett's brilliant. You know, they're all over.
Paul Holland's very good.
But I think I've even heard Jamie Hughes allude to the fact that he said, "I'm not even going to live with him at that game." He is, you know, he grew up yards from Viaduct Fishery, catching them great big carey fish, and you know, and on Wagglers, and I've watched him in action. He is absolutely sublime.
I remember covering a round of the UK champs once, and he got like, I think 10 Waggler rods set up. You know, all different depths, different styles of Waggler for different splashes. He's took it to the next level, especially on that circuit. It's fair to say. You know,
I've heard, I don't know, but I've heard he's into acoustics as well.
Is he?
I think he believes in acoustics and fishing as well.
You heard it here first.
How many times have I got that word into today? You've started using it as well, Mike.
It sounds like you're enjoying using it, Paul.
I am.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did.
Okay. On that terrible joke, I think it's time to sign off, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, I don't want to. Can you imagine if we were stopping on for the evening as well and fishing? This would be absolute, like fishing down the marshes or something.
Well, there's nothing stopping us, I don't suppose, is there?
It's a hell of a venue, isn't it? I've got to go home.
Yeah, get back to Hereford. Leave this for us Yorkshire folk, Paul.
You are, in all fairness, you are blessed with some wonderful venues around here.
You've got the River Wye, haven't you, to be fair to you?
Well, yeah, I'm not knocking that. But
see, they're really feeding now. I'm able to just sort of twitch it back into that feed. I think we're going to have a few more, aren't we, Dave?
Yeah.
We'll have a couple more. But folks, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe if you want. But we'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, see you next time.